What if I told you that one of the world's biggest travel companies was born not in a luxury office, not with millions of dollars, but by selling cereal boxes just to pay rent? No investors, no rich family, no perfect idea. Just three broke guys and a problem no one took seriously. This is not just a startup story, it's a survival story, and by the end of this video you'll understand why Airbnb almost died multiple times before becoming a global empire. Welcome to the channel where we break down how real brands are built, how ordinary people create extraordinary businesses, and what the system never tells you about success. If you want real business stories, hidden truths, and future-proof thinking, make sure you subscribe, because this channel is about strategy, not motivation. In 2007, San Francisco was one of the most expensive cities in the world. Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia were struggling designers who couldn't even afford their own rent. They weren't trying to build a billion-dollar company. They were just trying to survive. When a major design conference came to the city and hotels were completely sold out, they noticed something strange. Thousands of people were coming, but there was nowhere to stay. That's when a simple but unusual idea appeared. What if people could rent out extra space in their homes to strangers? They bought 3 air mattresses, put them in their living room, and built a basic website. They called it Airbed and Breakfast. 3 strangers stayed in their apartment. They made some money. The idea technically worked, but no one thought it was serious. Renting a room to a stranger sounded risky, awkward, and impossible to scale. Most people laughed at the concept. Soon after, they teamed up with a third co-founder, Nathan Blekerchik, a programmer. Together they tried to raise money. They pitched investors again and again. The answer was always no. Investors told them people would never trust strangers with their homes. They said hotels already existed and this idea solved no real problem. Rejection became normal. Credit cards were maxed out, savings were gone, and rent was still due. Airbnb was dying before it even started. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was 2008, during the US presidential elections. Brian and Joe noticed people were buying political merchandise like crazy. Instead of giving up, they did something no startup book would ever teach. They designed limited edition cereal boxes. One was called Obama O's with the slogan, "The hope in every bowl," and the other was Cap'n McCain's, "A maverick in every bite." They sold each box for $40. It sounded ridiculous, but people bought them. They sold over 800 boxes and made around $30,000. That cereal money kept Airbnb alive. This moment reveals a powerful lesson. Great entrepreneurs don't wait for perfect ideas or perfect funding. They do whatever it takes to survive. Airbnb wasn't built on confidence. It was built on desperation and creativity. With that money, they applied to Y Combinator, a famous startup accelerator, and finally got accepted. Even then, many mentors didn't believe in the idea. One investor gave them advice that changed the company forever. He told them to stop thinking about growth and start talking to real users. Brian and Joe flew to New York, met hosts in person, listened to their problems, and even took photos of their apartments themselves. They realized something critical. The problem wasn't the idea. The problem was trust. They rebuilt Airbnb around trust. Profiles, reviews, secure payments, and ratings became the heart of the platform. Airbnb was not really a travel company. It was a trust company. Once people felt safe, growth exploded. Airbnb expanded rapidly across countries and cultures. Millions of homes, millions of travelers, billions in bookings. But success came with enemies. Cities accused Airbnb of raising rents and damaging local housing markets. Governments imposed regulations. Hotels fought back. Airbnb was constantly under pressure. Instead of fighting blindly, the company adapted, negotiated, and changed policies to survive within the system. Then came the biggest shock of all. In 2020, global travel stopped. Airbnb lost nearly 80% of its business almost overnight. The company laid off employees and faced one of the darkest moments in its history. Once again, Airbnb was in survival mode. But history repeated itself. People stopped traveling internationally and started traveling locally. Remote work increased. Long-term stays became normal. Airbnb adapted again, and this time, it emerged stronger. From 3 air mattresses in a living room to a company worth tens of billions of dollars, Airbnb's story is not about luck. It's about persistence. It's about being rejected, laughed at, and underestimated, yet continuing anyway. Airbnb didn't win because it was perfect. It won because it refused to quit. If this story changed the way you think about business, remember this. Every massive brand you admire today once looked stupid, risky, or impossible. On this channel, we don't just tell success stories. We break the illusion behind them. Subscribe for more real brand stories, business psychology, and the truth behind billion-dollar companies, because success is not magic. It's strategy, patience, and survival.